Oxbridge and Oxford are like unwelcoming to black students, and that makes a vicious cycle where people don't want to apply, which like I understand as a point, but I think it often comes from people who aren't here or are here and are having one type of experience. So just because you're black and like Oxford has like really worked for you and you've had a great time and you like fit in completely, doesn't mean that other black people who haven't had such a positive experience, that their experience is invalid and they're just like vilifying the university. They could literally just be speaking about their time here, which is different to yours. And I don't think that's something that should be silenced. I think that's exactly where it comes important to like talk about the experience here, because I think most people who have had like mixed reviews about Oxford won't say don't come, or like won't say to a aspiring year 12 like don't come to Oxford. All they're trying to do is like have them be more equipped and more prepared to like handle it and make the most of it. So I don't think it's like saying that you found Oxford unwelcoming isn't with the purpose of like making people not apply. I think it's just so that when people get here, the transition is easier if you've like sort of pre-digested some of it and you like understand what you're walking into. Because I think for a lot of people, it's like a huge shock when you arrive. So I think people often say that it's like spreading like a myth or a lie, which is just not true. I don't think anyone's like lying about their experience here. It's just like might be different to yours. Against all odds, we will make space for black students at Oxford University.
Why did you laugh?
No, I just think that's really nice, because I think I also said that. I said something similar when I was talking to someone in like another conversation about like my experience, and I would say like I feel like against all odds, I feel like I've made some really good friends here, and so I feel like that's a good phrase to describe it, in the sense that like when we talk about like challenges in Oxford, we're not saying that like it's going to be like the worst thing ever, that kind of thing. It's just that like being aware that to a certain extent the odds are against you can like help you to like combat that and have like a good time despite that, as opposed to like denying that it's there, because I think that's just like not useful as an exercise essentially. So like acknowledging that like there are odds stacked against you and like seeing how you can navigate the space despite that are like the biggest thing you learn how to do here essentially. Oxford headlines about black people. Yeah. So then there's someone's mentioned that the Oxford headlines are about black British students and not all BME students, which is a thing that Oxford do often. Like when you mention something about black students, they'll come back with like BME statistics, which just are not relevant. Not that they might be relevant to a different discussion, and it's not that like other ethnic minorities don't need access, but if we're talking about like black statistics, using BME statistics to make it seem like Oxford is like doing better than they are is a common issue.
These are the media tweets, so just so you can take a look at them.
Okay. What do you mean media versus? So these were just by people?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I was looking at the articles whether they cited it, but it's gone.
Yeah.
I think it sort of says something similar about David Lammy homogenizing
Black people.
Yeah. And not talking about the intersections. I don't know why it's come down.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Fair enough. That seems on Oxbridge we need to change. Because I remember at the time, I can't remember why, but I wasn't really up on all this, and I remember, like, I feel like he got a lot of backlash, but I think it was about that, the homogenizing of the black students in Oxford. We need to change the narrative.
And how do you feel about him homogenizing black students?
I kind of feel, based on these two articles, I kind of feel like what he's done is more like the issue. It's like homogenizing black students is like a side effect of the fact that he just wasn't very specific. It's like, so in a lot of his stats, he hasn't like said what it includes, if that makes sense. So he'll be talking about like 4 times more likely to be successful than this, that, and like things like that. So when he's saying that, does he mean black British? Does he mean black including international students? Like, so he's like, I definitely see that he's like homogenized in doing that, in the sense that like you're just saying black as like a whole population without breaking down like into the like groups to see where the problems actually lie. But I think it's like, yeah, just like not specific enough, because it also makes it like a little bit misleading, in the sense that like I don't really know what to do with the statistic that a white applicant is 4 times more likely to be successful than a black applicant, because the takeaway from that is very different based on whether that's just black British students you're talking about, or whether you're talking about like international students as well, or like what that means basically has a big impact. So yeah, I think it's like, that was a mistake on his part for sure, to not be clear on that. A lot of them are saying this social apartheid thing.
Mm-hmm. What do you think of that phrase? Well, I guess we sort of talked about it before.
Yeah. I think I understand why it was used, because it's like to show that it's about class and race. So it's like fun and like catchy. I can see why they would use it as a heading for that reason. But then like on thinking about it, apartheid, it's not a perfect analogy, because apartheid is about segregation and like I think basically I actually think I understand why they've used it, but I think it's like a lot to be throwing around like that, because like apartheid is like a heavy word to be using this basically without like a lot of justification. But I think that I think it's, some people might disagree, but I think it's not like completely ridiculous to say if you like justify it, because I understand why they've used it, but I think as a heading it's a little bit messy, because like I think it needs a lot of justification to explain what you're talking about. You're talking about like applications and like how class and race link with each other, whereas like as a heading, social apartheid in Oxford, it's like a bit dramatic.
Yeah.
Failed to admit any black students.
Okay, so we're going to move on to the next section, which is section 2. So this is about your identity and your background. So I'm going to ask you several questions, and then you'll answer them, and after it, I'm going to ask you a question, and then you answer it, then I'll ask you a follow-up question after.
Okay.
So what gender do you identify as?
Female.
Do you feel as if this aspect of your identity has impacted upon your experiences at Oxford?
Yes.
How so? I know you said it before, but like, if you have anything else to elaborate on.
Anything else? I think I kind of said it before.
Yeah, I mean, you talked about your black male counterparts having the kind of experience you had prior to coming here.
Yeah.
So do you feel like their experience would be significantly different to yours?
Yeah, definitely. I think basically, as a black boy in Oxford,